What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 17 of 10th Inning Screwballs. I'm Dante Esposito.
And I'm Sevi Esposito. Dante, 17. Give me your number 17, all major sports.
So I gotta say, this was completely unintentional. Unintentional. Garrett Wilson used to be 17. But I'm gonna go with Josh Allen.
Did you not go with Garrett Wilson because he hasn't caught a pass for 3 weeks?
He got 22 targets last week.
Yeah, and what did he catch? 2?
I think he had 10 and a tutty.
All right. 17. There's lots of great 17s, and Josh Allen's a damn good one you picked there. Interesting that you're wearing a Jets jersey and you're wearing Josh Allen. You're going with Josh Allen's number, who is probably going to beat the Jets this week. It's interesting. I am also wearing a Jets jersey, but because of the conversation that we're going to discuss, I'm wearing it inside out because I'm ashamed of this team and this number 8. But we'll get into that. 17's Mickey Rivers, Mick the Quick. Just one of the legendary Yankees. I mean, and he really was for lots of crazy reasons. This is a guy that was part of a trade. He started with the Angels, he finished with the Rangers, but it was his years with the Yankees that everyone will remember him for. We had the pleasure of interviewing him last year. He was a great interview. He was terrific. Look it up; it's great stuff. He was just so welcoming and open about everything. He didn't hold back. Typical of everything that Mickey Rivers is always supposed to be about. The trade to the Yankees was a blockbuster because the Yankees had traded longtime hero Bobby Mercer for Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonds, Barry's dad. And it was a big, crazy thing in New York that how could they trade Bobby Mercer because he was such a great Yankee for all these years. And in San Francisco was how could they trade Bobby Bonds, who was Willie Mays' right-hand man. Everybody was in shock. And a year later, the Yankees trade Bobby Bonds for Mickey Rivers and Ed Figueroa, 2 guys that nobody knew much about with the Angels. And everybody was furious. At the end of the day, we wind up giving away, when you think about it, Bobby Mercer for these 2 nobodies. Well, let me tell you about these 2 nobodies. Ed Figueroa goes on to win 20 games. When pitchers still won 20 games because they pitched more than 4 quality innings. And Mickey Rivers was coming off a season where he stole 70 bases, and we thought, well, all this guy does is steal bases. He did more than that. He was the spark plug that helped the Yankees come back and get to the World Series for the first time in 15 or 20 years. He, in his interview with us, when we asked him about the number of pitches and the new rules that we could now try to pick off a runner at first, and with the bases being wider, so the distance to steal was shorter, you asked him how many bases he thought he'd steal now, and he quickly said, heck, I'd steal 100 now. So it was a beautiful thing. So yeah. Shohei Ohtani, who stole his 50, should know that Mickey would have stole twice as many. And I believe he would have. Dante, what do we got today?
Yeah, so MLB playoffs, we're still in the heart of it. We're going into the championship series. Some of the races are going into the championship series. We're going to talk about our NFL game of the week, but we're going to start with a little Jets talk. The Jets have fired Robert Saleh. Now, let's make a quick note. This is the first time that Woody Johnson has fired a coach mid-season. And there's a lot of stories going around social media. A couple of rumors, some saying that Robert Saleh was escorted out of the building by security. Some saying he was fired because he was wearing the Albanian flag on his shoulder, which is his heritage. A lot of different rumors. Some say it's Rodgers who said to fire Saleh. But one thing that's very interesting is that Robert Saleh was thinking of at least taking the play calling away from Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, or firing Hackett before Saleh actually got fired. What is your take? What do you believe? What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, new coach is
Jeff Ulbrich.
Okay. And his first move as new coach today was to
Take away the play calling from Hackett.
Okay. So I think we could all agree that the play calling for the New York Jets has been pathetic.
Yeah.
All right. And, we could say that some of these players have not lived up to their reputations, Rodgers, their ability. You're number
Brees,
17. And
Garrett, yeah.
Brees Hall, the running. Okay. This rebuilt offensive line not living up to its reputation.
Yep.
Right. So you can blame a lot on the team, on the players. And I always say at the end of the day, players play, right? I mean, coaches can only do so much. But the play calling has been so unimaginative, so flat, that it puts the players in a bad position to perform. So, Nathaniel Hackett, it comes down to this. Everything I've ever heard about Nathaniel Hackett, from his time with the Broncos, and I don't know a whole lot about him when he was with Green Bay. Okay, he was off in the woods, and Rodgers was winning MVPs, and then after the fact, everybody said, well, Rodgers was winning MVPs because it was his marriage with Hackett that together they were so great. But I didn't know a whole lot about that. I know that since he went to the Broncos, it was a horrendous situation there, and he was fired before the year was up. He comes to the Jets to be the offensive savior because he's going to bring in Rodgers, basically lure him in because that's his buddy, or vice versa. Or the word from Rodgers had already gotten to the Jets. If you want me, I want him. All right. So everybody said, okay, all the magic that happened over in Green Bay. Here we go again. And he's been horrendous ever since. Okay. So let me start backwards. I think the firing of Saleh is a good thing. I'll start there. Okay. Because the Jets are going nowhere fast. They're a mess. And they need to change things quickly. And although you want to make these kind of changes in football in between seasons, okay, you may not have another in between season when these guys are your players. Rodgers is a 1 or 2 year guy, okay? Mm-hmm. That's it. We don't know what next year. You can't wait for next year anymore. This is not like I've got a young team. Let's see if we can get through this year, and if not, we'll change things. Okay, so you just can't. At the end of last year's mess, Saleh's record was horrendous for his few years here, okay? But he hasn't had any time with Rodgers. Last year was a lost year. Now we'll finally have a quarterback. Well, he's had a quarterback for 5 games and nothing's happened. So you got to do something. You get the drastic time. I think Woody Johnson is an idiot. I don't like the way he does things. I don't like him, okay? But I don't blame him for this. I think the coach needed to be fired. I think the offensive coordinator needed to be fired or at least relieved of the play calling duty, and they've done that. So honestly, all that said, I don't have a problem with it. I feel bad for Saleh because this seems like a really good guy, and Hackett seems like a really good guy. But I've said this for years. When it comes to football, I don't want really good guys coaching my team. I don't want guys that I want to have a beer with and watch the game with. I want guys that are bastards. I want Bill Parcells, who grabs the guy by the face mask and gives him hell. I want Bill Belichick, who gives crap to Brady, because he demands performance. Okay, not like this kumbaya, let's all hug each other. I guess you can't hug Saleh, right? That's what Mr. Rodgers said, okay? So that's the reason why I agree with this. And then the last thing I'm going to say is small, okay? Rodgers was behind it. I don't care what anybody says, Rodgers is behind it. Woody Johnson spoke to Rodgers the night before, and they didn't talk about this? Really? Really? He's about to fire the head coach. He knows luring Rodgers in was part of who the coaches will be and so on and so forth. And then he's going to fire him and not tell him? He's going to pull the rug out from under him? Really? Come on. You know how that conversation went. That conversation went, is it the coaching? Do I need to fire Saleh? And you know what he said. Hey, got to make changes. You know that's what he said. You know he led that horse to water. Okay? This is Rodgers' doing. All right? If it works, again, I agree with the move. Rodgers is a hero. If it doesn't work, this is a stain on Rodgers' legacy, and he will always be remembered as this talented guy who was a prima donna, who was a weirdo, okay, and screwed Robert Saleh. That'll be his legacy.
All right. So I got a lot to say about this as well. I'm going to start from top down. I'm going to start Woody, the owner, and then I'm going to go GM to coaches. Woody, sell the team. He's the ambassador for the some European nation. If you're doing that and you're mixed in with politics, now you're owning a team. I want my owner to be 100% invested in the team, not being the ambassador for whatever, okay? So that's step one, sell the team. Plenty of people would give their heart and soul and work night and day to make the Jets, who are just ran pathetically, they would give it their all to change that around. So, I don't like him. Joe Douglas. A lot of people are saying, fire JD, fire JD. Absolutely not. Joe Douglas is the only thing in the Jets' upper management that needs to stay. Because if you look at what he was given Jamal Adams and a bunch of nothing. He turned Jamal Adams into draft picks, into Sauce Gardner, into Garrett Wilson. This, that. You want to talk about, oh, the Jets won that game to miss out on Trevor Lawrence? Well, guys, guess what? If they ended up getting Trevor Lawrence, they would not have Brees Hall. They would not have Sauce. They probably wouldn't have Garrett. So a lot of trickle downs. I'm not saying good that we got Wilson instead of T-Law, but I'm just saying there's a trickle down. The general manager's purpose, his number one job, is to put the best team on paper. Now, if you look at me across the screen and say, he didn't put together a good team on paper, you're lying to me, you're lying to him, and you're lying to yourself. Lies. Joe Douglas has done everything he could. Sure, was this pick a bust? Was that pick a bust? Sure. But you're telling me that not everybody was saying Zach Wilson was the number two quarterback in that draft. Not everybody was saying Sam Darnold was the number one quarterback in that draft. You cannot blame Joe Douglas on those picks. Instead, you need to look at what he took and what he turned it into. He turned it into a lot of potential. Now, that potential hasn't been living up to those standards. Is that Joe Douglas' problem? No, he does not make the players play. That brings me to my next point, coaching. We have had a parade of fools as our offensive coordinators and our head coaches. LaFleur was our OC. Hackett was our OC. I might be forgetting another one. Bad. Just bad offensive coordinators. Now you look at our head coaches. You had Adam Gase. You had Todd Bowles, who is a defensive mind, who really can't do anything with the offense. And then you have Robert Saleh. The most successful Jets head coach in recent memory was Rex Ryan.
Mhm.
And a lot of fans don't like him. Some do. I personally like him. But he took Sanchez to 2 AFC championship games. So you could talk about coaching. Now let's get to the Saleh era. Comes in with, I think, the 30th or 31st ranked defense, and he completely turns that around. Robert Saleh is a defensive mind. He's out in San Francisco changing their culture. He comes in, and what does he do? He changes the Jets' defensive culture. Jeff Ulbrich comes in, great defensive mind again. I think Robert Saleh is one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. I don't think he's a great head coach. Therefore, yes, firing him, probably the right time, right reason. You need the offense to start moving. You bring in Jeff Ulbrich. He's not an offensive mind. Is that going to suddenly impact the offense? I don't know. But one thing I do know, Quincy Williams, post-game press conference after the London loss. He said people are sick and tired of hearing the same old stuff. It's not always going to be okay. We want to hear something different. And to me, I don't know if it's Saleh losing the locker room. I don't know if it's Saleh saying, oh, we'll get him next week, boys. But there needed to be a change in head coach. That's what I take of all this. So Nathaniel Hackett relieved of his duties of play calling. Good. Saleh fired as the head coach. All right. He's a great defensive coordinator. Not the best head coach. Joe Douglas still putting all the pieces together on paper. You're safe. Woody Johnson, you're next to go.
And the Quincy Williams interview, what did he say? The accountability needs to be from where to where, right?
Top, from the top.
From the top.
Yes.
So he kind of said it. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Wow, it's crazy times.
Yeah.
That said, it's October. It's baseball season. Screw all this silly stuff with the pigskin. Baseball. And what's supposed to happen in October? It's supposed to be baseball and the Yankees. It's their time of year. What's going on in baseball, Dante?
Well, it's certainly New York's time of the year, but I don't know if it's the Yankees' time of the year right now. Obviously, I don't think I need to say it again, but I'll say it again. I don't like the Mets. Yankee fan. Went to City Field, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Went to City Field for Game 3 of their series against the Phillies. Saw the Mets win. Saw the Phillies lay an absolute egg again. But it's playoff baseball. Anything could happen. The Mets are running the table, and they're in the NLCS. The Tigers are up 2-1 against the Guardians. That's big. I mean, the Tigers have a payroll of nothing. Their total payroll is less than Josh Hader. Um, the Yankees are up 2-1 against the Royals. They could finish that job tonight with their ace on the mound. A lot of non-impressive stuff. The only two teams that impress me are the Mets and the Padres. I mean, Tatis looks amazing. The Padres look like probably the most fun team to watch, but the Mets are probably the best story right now in baseball.
So I said to you a month and a half ago, before the Mets had qualified for the playoffs, that's the scariest team in baseball. That's the team I don't want to play. Okay. If they get in, I don't want to play that team. I hate to be right. Actually, I love to be right because I was right. All right. Right now, I don't care who they play. If they are not the favorites in Vegas, then I, who do not gamble, would completely support gambling and betting on the Mets because there's no way any team should be favored over them right now. Derek Jeter once said the best team comes in first place, but the hottest team wins a championship. And sometimes it's the same team. Sometimes the first place team gets hot and they run the table. Okay. The Mets are not the best team. Castellanos from Philadelphia with a little bit of the sour milk and crying this morning said, "Look, I give them their props. They played. They're hot and they played really well. They're not as good as us, but they were better right now." That's what he said. The truth is, they're probably not as good as the Phillies or the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Guardians or a bunch of teams. But man, have they gelled. Man, they got a little magic, a little mojo going on right now. If everything goes the way it's going right now, if every team continues to play the way they're playing right now, the New York Mets become the world champs this year on a year that was supposed to be a rebuild year. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And they're doing it in a style that's hard for me. I said this in a couple of times now. Hard for me to hate them right now. I will hate them when they get to the World Series because I can't bear to see them win a World Series because I'm going to have to take crap from people that are Met fans, right? So I will root against them. But hard for me to hate the style of play. I made a comment today on our chat page about Lindor hitting these amazingly dramatic home runs and then putting his head down and jogging around the bases like Mickey Mantle. No crazy nonsense, no whooping, no staring at the pitcher, no pounding his chest. Like, I've been there before. I got more to do. We're going to do this again. Class act. Love it. Hate that he's doing it. I wish he made a jerk out of himself so I could root against him. Now, as a Yankee fan, if you told me at the beginning of the year, listen, in order to win a World Series, you need to win 1 out of 2 games against the Royals, team that lost 100 games last year. You need to win 1 out of 2 against the Royals. You need to win 4 out of 7 against either the Tigers or the Guardians. And then you need to win 4 out of 7 against the Mets, who are in the rebuilding year. And then you're allowed to win a World Championship. You sign on that contract in a heartbeat. Well, now you know something? Yankees can't beat any of those teams. Okay? They may get by the Royals, but they may squeak by. Okay? They may squeak by. They won a game last night where Giancarlo Stanton, the guy that so many Yankee fans didn't want to play. Should we put him on the roster? He can't run. When you hit the ball over the fence, you don't have to run. Meantime, he was the only guy to get a hit on the team last night. Think about this. Nobody hits. Okay? And they squeak by. Okay? Aaron Judge, I love, my favorite player. You know that. because I love him on and off the field. He does everything right. He's a good guy. He's a power hitter. He's a raised in the system Yankee. Everything you want to love, right? When everything's a pressure bound, he becomes invisible. 6'7", invisible. He's the only thing 6'7", 280 pounds you can't see. Invisible. He hits 59 home runs. The world, he's going to break the record. Can't hit a home run. Freezes. Took him a month to hit 2 home runs. Okay, where the rest of the season, boom, 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 boom. Let's walk him. As soon as it came down to the wire, freezes. Okay, playoffs prior to this year, like they blindfolded him, spin him around, and hit him like a pinata. He can't hit anything. He can't hit anything. Okay, love him, but apparently, a little bit of Apple work going on there with my boy Judge. So without Judge and Soto both powering through, the rest of the lineup is hit or miss. Pitching's okay. They're just better than the teams they're playing against, so they may get through and they may make it to the World Series. But they're they're going to have to get amazingly hot to run the table. Mets are going to be the world champs.
I want to talk about something. You just talked about Judge. One thing you forgot. In his 62 home run season, I think he was at 59 homers, and he had something like 7 or 8 home games in a row. I went to every single one of those home games. I sat in the nosebleeds because that place was packed. And he couldn't hit a homer because the entire crowd silenced, waiting for him to hit 60 or 61 or 62. He couldn't do it. Where did he end up hitting 62? In Texas.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Judge, when all eyes are on him in New York, yeah.
Although he hit number 60 in New York. And
Yeah. I didn't go to that game.
I did.
I know.
I asked you.
The guy class.
I asked you. School. What school? You're going to remember that class in 20 years from now? Nobody.
I don't even remember it now.
There you go. But I remembered I was there. I hopped in the car and I went. Anyway. Yes, there is still football. So let's pick one game of the week, a game that you can't miss, must-see game. What's your game?
Oh, Grandma said it. Commanders, Ravens.
I'm going to interrupt you. If you guys haven't tuned into Grandma's Hot Picks, you need to tune in. By the way, she's taken TikTok by storm. I didn't know what TikTok was. All right, they don't know. I don't know. It's an app. I don't know what I thought. An app was like. I thought an app was like shrimp and shrimp cocktail. I thought it was an appetizer. I didn't know what an app was. He's telling me it's an app. It's TikTok. Grandma's on TikTok and blowing it up. Okay, she's blowing it up. You got to go find Grandma's Hot Picks every week. She's picking one game a week and she's on fire. Go ahead, Nata. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Commanders, Ravens. Jane Daniels is hot. The Ravens might be the best team in football. Give me I think I'll tail Grandma. Give me Commanders +7.
That's what she said. That's what she said. But she also said they're always going to be the Redskins. Love it. Love it. All right, good game. That's a great game. That's a don't miss game, and I will watch that game. In fact, in as much as you got me hooked on this stupid red zone thing where I'm watching 15 games going on, I think I will watch that complete game rather than watch red zone for that because I want to see that game. That's a great game. I usually do that for our team, for the Jets. I'll watch the full game, but I will for that game. That should, unless the game gets out of hand one way or the other. So I'm gonna pick. It's gonna sound like a homer game, but it's not a homer game. I'm gonna pick the Bills Jets as my can't miss game only because the Bills are coming off kind of some sloppiness, and they didn't look all the way up to snuff. And people are saying, well, maybe Josh Allen without the weapons he had in the past is not going to be the same. Can't be Superman without them. And maybe and the Jets, who are stumbling all over the place, suddenly are in a position that if they win this game, believe it or not, they'll be in a virtual tie, or actually an actual tie with the Bills, but virtually in first place based on record. So they could actually be in first place after this. Mm-hmm. For the Jets, and as much as they're losing this would only put them 2 games out of first place, and winning puts them in first. If they lose it, they're done. They're done. Then I'm sorry, even at this early stage of this year, they're done. Okay, because then changes this, that, firing, all this. If you can't get it done now, you ain't going to get it done. If you don't do it at home in front of your crowd, with all the pressure on, with all the demands on this team, if they don't step up to the plate, and I don't care if they all go out and get Devontae Adams, a wide receiver is not going to change this team. Okay, he's probably damn good. All right, and he'd probably do great with Rodgers, but a wide receiver is not going to change this team. Okay, the offense is going to have to step up their style of play. The offensive line is going to have to protect the 40-year-old quarterback better. The 40-year-old quarterback is going to have to start looking like he was 30 years old again. Okay, otherwise, all the great wide receivers in the world don't mean crap. So it's a big game for both of these teams, as well as in the standings, a first place game. So that's my game. That's my game.
Never bet against a team who just fired their coach. Always lights a spark.
You've seen it with
Antonio Pierce.
Pierce, who turned out to be a real good coach.
Yeah.
You've also seen it in situations like Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
Who was just like because somebody had to hold the headset, so they gave it to him, right? And
yeah,
and he won, right? Crazy.
Rich Bisaccia
was good coach and did a hell of a good job, and never should have got. They should have kept him for the following year.
I agree.
The players loved him. They busted their butts for him.
Yep.
Mistake. He had a lot of vowels in his name.
Yeah.
Don't fire a guy with all those vowels. Shame on them. Especially it's October. It's Italian Heritage Month. I think that's it. What are you laughing at? I'm serious, though, by the way.
No.
I'm damn serious. First time I heard his name, I thought he was Asian. I really did. I heard Versace. I thought he was an Asian guy. I didn't realize until I learned more. Yes. Anyway. Okay, that's it. That takes us to that part of the show we call Yesterday, Today, Before, and After, where Dante talks about something that's on his mind that's happening now, and I talk about something that I remembered and I'm reminiscing about that happened in times gone by. Dante, take it away.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's on my mind right now is how you thought he was Asian.
I don't know.
How?
Doesn't sound that way.
No, I will tell you what's on my mind.
Does Versace sound like he's going to chop up food and flip it in your mouth at the restaurant?
No?
With the big hat?
It's not hibachi.
Well, no, but it sounded like it.
Okay. Stop. I went to Citi Field, and
shame on you, traitor.
Don't worry. I didn't give my money to Steve Cohen, so I think I finally realized why I can't take the Mets seriously, and it's the truth. No matter how successful they are right now or this season, there's just part of me that can't take them serious enough, and I think I finally figured it out, and it's taken years. It's the first playoff home game at Citi Field this postseason. So they do the introduction for all the players. Now, traditionally, you call the player's name, they jog out, give fist bumps. Jog out, give fist bumps. The Mets add a little twist to it. They call their name, and then they turn to the fans, and they start pumping their chests or doing stuff. You said it before. Lindor acts like he's been there before, and maybe the Mets haven't been there before, but they weren't acting like they've been there before. So to me, I'm not going to say it was a clown maneuver, but it was a little unserious to me. The next one. Every 5 seconds, I see that purple thing, Grimace. People are dressing up as Grimace. Grimace originates from McDonald's. How do you expect me to take a professional sporting team serious when people are dressed up as a furry? And now it's on the trains. The trains go by and you see that purple guy. That's 2. You already did a little special on Haktua, but that's 3. Clown organization. She's a clown, and Steve Cohen's a clown for letting her in the building. And the 4th one, and I know it's really subtle, and you guys could say I'm like you, I'm an old head. But when you go to a Yankee game, and there's the Jumbotron, they're trying to sell the chicken buckets or whatever, and it's the lady with the mic, I don't know what to call her, and maybe she'll go, and let's go Yankees, as like a finishes her sentence with "Let's go Yankees." The Mets, they don't do that. They don't say, "Oh, and let's go Mets." They start chanting like we're in preschool, like we're learning our ABCs or the days of the week. You just see the guy, let's go, hey fans, let's go Mets, let's go Mets. And then the crowd starts chanting, let's go Mets. Like it's weird, it's childish. And I can't take the organization serious. Oh, and the last thing I almost forgot, and this one is better than the other ones combined. They since done away with this, but up until this year, they had M&Ms, pictures of M&Ms, life-size M&Ms in left field. I think they had probably like 6 of them just in the outfield. That's not an advertisement. Put that in the clown show. I just can't take the Mets serious. And it's something that I expect coming from your mouth, not mine. But like, come on. And if anybody wants to know, is the better atmosphere in Yankee Stadium or Citi Field, where the Mets haven't been in the postseason in 10 years, it's still Yankee Stadium, and that's bias aside.
Just a couple of things in their defense. All right. It's the new wave of what's happening in ballparks. Hang on. Okay. The Yankees have not totally embraced it. All right. And they get criticized for it because the Yankees don't have a section for little kids to play in.
Actually, now they do.
But they've been criticized for this.
Yeah.
Because the Yankees don't have all that rah-rah stuff that you find in a minor league game, and they're going around and shooting T-shirts into the crowd.
There was 4 T-shirt tosses.
Okay, relax. I can't have you get a stroke. You got a test tomorrow. Relax, all right? Okay, but that kind of thing. The Yankees have not embraced all that stuff that we've only seen in minor leagues for years.
Go to a Bridgeport Bluefish game.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you're used to that at Yankee Stadium. At Citi Field, it's much more common throughout you've gone to every ballpark. You see that happening everywhere. Okay. You didn't see it in Oakland because nobody else was there. And if they shot the T-shirt, nobody would get it. It would sit by itself.
There's no grimace anywhere else. Okay. The Mets do it to a whole new level. I understand.
Wait a minute. The Phillies got the Philly fanatic running around.
No, that's a mascot. Grimace isn't a mascot. He's a mascot for McDonald's, not the Mets.
So you want to argue? Now let's argue now about what makes less sense, Grimace or the Philly fanatic. No, the Philly fanatic is real. This other thing is a mask. They're both people in costumes. You idiot. My God. With that said, we also went together to the first game, Yankees-Royals, earlier this week. Exciting game. Yanks come back and win. Was wonderful. The atmosphere, as you said, was fantastic. But the Yankees didn't do everything right either. I'm just going to start by saying that, I am big on the whole rivalry thing. And when they talk about throwing out the first pitch, they brought out Andy Pettitte. That's great. Randy Pettitte has no history against Kansas City. Only has played them in regular season games. The Yankees and Kansas City have playoff history. For a bunch of years in a row, when there were only 2 divisions in each league, East and West, the Yankees and the Royals met each other every year. And it was this ugly battle. And they hated each other. And, I went off on this tirade about there needs to be hate and have passion and real rivalries in sports. And I felt that let's go get Chris Chambliss, the guy who hit the home run to knock out the Royals in the playoffs and take the Yankees to the World Series. Let's get somebody who won, or Greg Nettles, who got in a fight with George Brett and took him to the. But no, they didn't. In the meantime, George Brett, who remembers the rivalry before that game, went to the dugout of the Royals and said, "Listen," and this is beautiful. Okay, this is all these years later. Okay, he said, "Listen, that's the New York Yankees over there. This is not a series. This is a war." This is what he said to them. How beautiful is that? That's missing. That's missing right now. And I love that. But in that game, key part in the game, Jazz Chisholm steals second base, close play, replays. You look at the replay, you can get Gene Ferrator to come look at it or whatever else and analyze what the result should be and all kinds of bull, whatever. It looked like he was out, but they gave him safe, and he winds up scoring, and they win the game. Key play, and it had me thinking about some crazy stuff that's happened in the past in big games where a key play would make a decision. So Yankees and the Red Sox. It's September of 1983, and they're battling for first place. And Yankees have get a runner on base by a hit batter, and which is good because now we're going to get the tying run to the plate. Mike Stanley's going to come up, so at least they have a chance. Last inning, down by 2, runner on first, and with Stanley up, he quickly hits an out to left field, and that's the end of the game because there was 2 outs. But as he's hitting, the umpire calls time because 2 morons jumped on the field and started running around just as he was getting off. Didn't distract him, but the umpire did call time immediately, and then the ball was hit, and that was that. So now the Red Sox manager is furious because this game should be over. Now, it's true. They still down by 2 runs, only man on first, but they get a second chance at life. Wouldn't you have it? Next pitch, he gets a hit. Okay. So now the tying runs are off first base. Next batter gets hit by a pitch. Now the runners move up. Wade Boggs gets up, gets an infield hit. Now there's craziness going on. All right. So now you're a hit away from winning the game. And who's up? Don Mattingly, of course. Because in the history of the Yankees, whenever a big moment had to happen, the big player shows up. It's been the way the Yankees have been for years, and I can only hope it goes forward this way. And Don Mattingly, the hitman, was money in the bank. Money in the bank. Naturally, he rips a hit. 2 runs come running around the bases. Yankees win the game. Remarkable, remarkable. So every time now I see a key game with a key call by an umpire that makes a decision to drive one team in or one team out of a playoff game or playoff contention, I can't help but think about that game. One of the wildest finishes I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely cool stuff. Dante, I think that's it.
It is. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Season 2, Episode 17, 10th Inning Screwballs. You know where to find us. The full episodes on YouTube and Spotify, short clips on Instagram and TikTok. And a reminder, go check out Grandma's weekly picks on TikTok, TI Screwballs. And if you haven't joined the chat page already on Facebook, join up. From Dante Esposito
and Sevi Esposito.
Have a good week.
Go get your shine box. Ciao.